Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and I'm currently driving the current generation Toyota Camry. We know a new generation's coming out for 2025. I've driven some older Camrys, but somehow I've never driven the current generation, and this one more specifically is a hybrid LE. That means it's pretty punchy. And I want to share my thoughts and opinions driving this compared to, everything else I've driven. How does the Camry do in today's time in the year 2024? Also, this one is slightly used. I'll link it below if you're interested. It's at Twin Falls Subaru. They're a fantastic dealer, and this one's reasonably priced in the low mid $20,000 ballpark. But going around the corner, we get a little bit of wheel spin. Pretty good for a Camry. I do have it in sport mode right now. Traction control's off, but so far it feels nice. It feels light and nimble. It's electronic power steering. It's not hydraulic, so you don't really get much of a sensation through the wheel, but you can see it changes directions pretty well. Everything's very ergonomically designed and pleasing. I'm 5'11" and I sit in here very comfortably. Let's take a corner, maybe at 20 miles an hour or so. You can feel a little bit of a push, but overall that was pretty flat. Handled it really well. It's about 25 miles here. And when you're going that speed, you can see the tiny little bushes and trees aren't really dancing around. There's not a ton of wind out today, but it feels really smooth. It feels very well insulated. Side mirrors do a great job showing you exactly what's going down your side. Same with the rear and the other side. And I'm 5'11", like I mentioned, and I can sit comfortably in the back seats. There's a reason why Camry sells in the several 100,000 unit ballpark just in North America alone. Recently, it was announced that the top 3 selling cars in the world are number 1, the Tesla Model Y, and then the next 2 are Toyotas, the RAV4 and the Corolla. I was kind of surprised to not see the Camry on the list, although I know the Corolla is really popular in the UK. That power does not get old. For having around 200 horsepower, it really goes a long way when you're very efficient. Even at some altitude where we're almost 4,000 feet above sea level right now, the naturally aspirated engine's down on power a little bit, but the electric engine really kicks in and does a phenomenal job. And let's check out the brakes, maybe a half pedal from about a 40 roll. I don't even think I gave it half pedal, and that went really well. Corners nicely, gets right back up to speed. Getting 50 miles per gallon in a hybrid Camry shouldn't be this much fun. I'm honestly liking this a lot more than I thought I was going to so far, although what I don't like, which falls true for most sedans, is there's no 6 o'clock position. I wish they would just widen that out, almost like the 4Runner, and give you the handle right there. I'm also not super fond of the buttons for HVAC. I do appreciate that you have dual climate controls for you and your occupant, which currently is my backpack, but I don't really like those tiny little buttons that you get. I wish you had bigger buttons, bigger dials. They certainly could fit them on the screen if they reconfigured that. But when you come to a stop, the gas engine shuts off, and it's very well sorted out. When you get off the gas, it kicks in seamlessly. And then when you have to get up to speed, like on this 60 mile an hour road, we're already there. But if you guys want to see what this actually does 0 to 60 in my area and my elements, here's that take. 0 to 60 in the Camry, sport mode on, traction off, brake rev, let's go. Pretty decent for a 4-cylinder Camry so far. Well, that honestly surprised me, guys. True 0 to 60 came in at 7.94 seconds. Keep in mind, on the graph you can see density altitude's 4,500 feet, so the gas-powered engine is down on power about 13 or 14%. Sub 8 true time, a little bit faster without the rollout the way it would be counted by the magazines that rate this. That's actually pretty impressive. Having an electric motor at altitude seriously goes such a long way. Turbo engines do pretty well, but they're still a little bit slower than they otherwise would be for those of you blessed to live at sea level. But naturally aspirated engines, they suffer a little bit. But when you slap on an electric motor to the driver's side of this engine to connect it to that and the transmission. It really does quite a good job. I'm honestly having quite a bit of fun driving this. It feels very rev happy. I do wish I could actually see my RPM, but ultimately this is a Camry. Most people who drive Camrys that aren't the TRD version aren't going to be car enthusiasts. They're not going to care about that. They'd rather probably look at where they're doing for the eco and charge and power configurations of, you know, the tiny little battery that this has. But I would still like to know where my RPMs are. Otherwise though, this is really enjoyable. Let's check out the horn. The vehicle really does feel insulated pretty well because I can't hear the horn very well. I can tell that it's not overly high pitched, and it seems to be pretty average in the loudness for the factory horns that this comes with. But everything is configured well. Voice and volume controls on the left, all of your adaptive cruise settings on the right. With the display in the center, you can control that through the center screen. This one being an LE, you know, cloth seats, just the basic options, but a lot of safety features. It really doesn't offer a whole lot. But let's get back on the gas again. Or the kilowatts, the electricity. It does really well, and just like that, I'm back at 60. Anyways, guys, do you like this? Have you driven a Camry? Have you owned one? Are you one of the millions of people who have owned one? Like this video if you like the Camry, or if you like what I'm doing today. Just kind of an impromptu point of view driving around video, not a really technical spec video. This video is honestly halfway for me as it is for anyone else. Not to be too selfish, but I'm just curious. I see so many of these on the road, and I haven't chosen to drive one before. I've driven a few of the hybrid RAV4s and a few of the other Toyotas, the modern ones. I just haven't picked up a Camry since sedans aren't really being pushed like they used to. They're not nearly as popular as they used to be, and I think that's a shame. I think that's to make more money from the manufacturer by selling bigger vehicles that have a higher percent of profit margin. But sedans are fun. This is what people used to drive all the time. Heck, 20-year-old Camrys are still some of the most reliable vehicles on the road today. And having the blue badge on front, making it a hybrid, which again, Toyota basically owns the hybrid world. At least they did for the longest time before everyone else decided that they should start kicking in and trying to keep up and get started with electrification. It's done really well. It doesn't seem like EV sales, other than the Model Y specifically and the Model 3 doing exceptionally well, have done as well as the other American and Japanese auto manufacturers thought they would. But hybrids, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get a little electric motor, a little electric battery. Sometimes that even gives you the all-wheel drive capabilities in Toyota, which usually not as good as a mechanical system like what Subaru or Mazda has, or H-Track with Hyundai Kia. But it does a good job, and this electric motor feels so well suited to this engine. Like the software engineers really knew what they were doing when they were configuring this all together. Thankfully, hybrids have a nice long powertrain warranty for the electrical components anyways. So that gives you a lot of peace of mind. So even like this one being a couple years old and being driven a lot, 75,000 miles, you're still going to be able to have some peace of mind and realize that for a low $20,000 investment into this depreciating asset, you're going to save a lot of money on fuel. You're going to be in a really safe vehicle, and overall I think you're going to have a really fun time. Well, let's maybe do a U-turn. You can pretty quickly turn in this. I didn't Google what the turning diameter or the radius is, but that feels about as sharp as any other front-wheel drive based vehicle. The problem with these are front-wheel drive powers the wheels. It's the main source of brakes that you use because braking is front heavy, and it's the turning wheels. But this feels really good. Even at 60 miles per hour, if you had to move out of the road of a box, of a tire, of a small little animal, it really does a pretty good job, and it's pretty responsive. Overall, guys, my impressions of this Camry is I like it a lot more than I thought I would. It feels very modern in comparison to everything else I've driven. There are some vehicles that have been around for 15 years in their current generation. Toyota 4Runner with the 5-speed automatic, I'm calling you out. I love you, but I'm calling you out. This feels really modern. Even with a CVT, it just feels natural, it feels reliable, it feels like something you can depend on. And it's a Camry, it's a Toyota. Reliability and safety are in the DNA of what this thing stands for. So if you guys like the Camry, like this video, show your support if you don't mind. Comment any thoughts and opinions you have below. If you want to see more reviews like this, for those of you who watch all of my videos, let me know in the comments and I'll do more impromptu reviews just to get a little bit of a taste for all these other vehicles that you might be interested in. If you want to see a full review of a Camry, let me know. Otherwise, subscribe if you haven't already. If you like what you see and you want to check out some more stuff, I post a few times a week. Otherwise, I wish you guys the absolute best. Take care out there. And if you want this one, I'll link it in the description below. Until next time, though, take care. Toyota definitely makes a good looking Camry, especially in this gray metallic color. New tires, but you know what's interesting is this has hubcap covers over the steely wheels, but they honestly look pretty good. Those are probably the best looking hubcap covers I've ever seen. And then under the hood, you can see the electric motor added onto the regular 4-cylinder. And all of your reservoirs are right up top, easy to find and identify. You can see some of the infamous hybrid orange wiring harness in the back. But overall, it's a little bit cramped, a little bit snug under the hood, but thankfully it's Toyota. And you're probably never gonna have to do any maintenance on this beyond just basic oil changes and tire replacements.